Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am going to be giving you a second trimester update. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Becca. I am currently just in my third trimester. I'm 28 weeks with my fourth baby. And I thought I would sit down and kind of share with you guys a recap of the second trimester, but also, even more importantly, some of my must-haves, some of the things that, like different, products or what have you, that have really helped me in this phase of pregnancy. So if you guys don't know, I actually have a pregnancy podcast. I have done a season for each of my pregnancies where I share so much more of the nitty-gritty, the ins and the outs, like week by week, what I'm experiencing, symptom-wise, pregnancy-wise, but also just like what's going on in our life. It's called The Bristow's Made a Baby, and I will link that down below if you guys love to just hear about pregnancy and prepping for birth and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I'm a total junkie for that kind of content. So if you are too, you will definitely really enjoy the podcast. So definitely go over there if you want more details and, like I said, kind of the ins and outs of each week. But in today's video, I'm just going to give you a recap of the second trimester. Okay, so I wrote down symptoms, cravings, and then I'm also going to share with you my must-haves. When I went through and wrote down the symptoms, I was like, wow, that's a lot of things, but a lot of these things come and go. So it's not like I'm dealing with this entire list of things every single day. I would say each pregnancy has gotten a little bit tougher in a way physically, because it's just a lot on my body, and all of my pregnancies have been close together. My oldest literally just turned 5 like 2 days ago. So it's been, technically 5 pregnancies because I had a miscarriage, within 5 years. It's a lot. So, but I also feel like on the same token, this pregnancy has been a little bit maybe easier, because I feel like because I'm so busy with the 3 little kids, we ended up selling our house and moving, and we're renovating, and it's just been a very busy time. It's gone by a little bit faster. I've never been one of those ladies who's been like, oh, it's just flying by, I can't believe it. Like, no, like, I'm very aware that I'm pregnant. I don't love being pregnant. There are definitely like some high points, but for the most part, it's a lot in my body, and it's just kind of like, it's more of a means to an end for me. There's some things I enjoy, but a lot of it is just difficult. But it's so worth it in the end. And every time, as soon as I lock eyes with that sweet baby, I'm like, I would do it all over again. Okay, so let's start with second trimester symptoms. So second trimester starts around like 13, 14 weeks. And by that point, or at that point, I'm still usually pretty sick. My first trimesters are very difficult, and that sickness continues into the second trimester, although it starts to get easier. So I did still experience a lot of nausea. Did not throw up once this pregnancy, but I also started on Unisom B6 pretty early on. I have taken that with some of my pregnancies, not all of my pregnancies, but it's very helpful to me. It's like my lifeline. I'm a super holistic person in general, but I also will take the over-the-counter meds if it's going to help me get through my day and survive, which it does. So I started taking that very early on, and I actually ended up taking it all the way through week 24 this time around, because this was the sickest pregnancy I've had. Like, I feel like I was the sickest in the beginning, even though I've been pretty sick with all of them, but then also it just lingered for much longer. Normally by 20 weeks, I am totally in the clear of not any kind of nausea, but this time I ended up staying on the Unisom till about week 24. Another big thing I experience while pregnant is dizziness and like lightheadedness and shortness of breath. And it typically just comes in the morning for me. It starts like in the end of the first trimester, and it pretty much sticks with me throughout the pregnancy. The mornings are just really like tough for my body to get going. I'm always really aware of making sure like my iron levels are okay. I usually always get them checked throughout pregnancy. I'm actually going to get them checked just to, be sure everything's fine. Soon when I get my glucose test done, I'm going to ask for that. But it's like no matter what, like last pregnancy, I was convinced I was like anemic, and I wasn't because I was just so lightheaded and so short of breath and so dizzy. Again, and it tends to be in the morning for me. And then once I get through that initial push and I kind of get my day going and I get my body going, then I don't really deal with it at all throughout the rest of the day. The other, I would say, major thing that I deal with in pregnancy is varicose veins. They are so not fun. I did not have them at all in my first pregnancy. I started getting them in my second pregnancy. They got a little bit worse in my third pregnancy, and they have gotten way worse in my fourth pregnancy. It's only in my one leg. They're all in my right leg, but they are really bad. I mean, they are literally like from my foot all the way up to the pelvic region. They are just really gross to look at. They are uncomfortable. There's a couple things I do to keep me comfortable vein-wise, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But they are just not fun, and they run in my family, and it's just kind of like, it is what it is. They've gotten worse every time, and they're just not my favorite. Okay, other like discomforts. I have some like rib pain. It comes and goes. There's, sometimes where it's like really bad and really uncomfortable. It actually feels honestly more like diaphragm pain than like rib pain. It's always on the right side. And that's most likely because your liver's on your right side, and your liver is your only, organ in this region that isn't like squishy and malleable and can kind of like squish out of the way. It's a pretty solid mass. So it gets just really crowded on this side, and it gives me some pain in my ribs. It comes and goes. Sometimes it's really bad and I'm like experiencing it all day long. Most of the time it's not there. But the most I experience it is at night when I'm trying to sleep, and I have to kind of like keep flipping from side to side because my ribs just start to get achy. Another thing that's been achy and sore is like the pelvic floor, mainly because of the veins. By the end of the day, it's just kind of achy down there. And then also I've had, it's called pubic symphysitis, where it's like right where your pubic bone is, there's a joint that meets there. It's called the pubic joint, pubic symphysis. I don't know. I take a class with a amazing, pelvic floor PT. It's like a yoga class, and I've learned so much with her, and that's how I know this. But there's basically this joint that meets right at your pubic bone, and with all the stretching and the weight of the belly, and your uterus is getting bigger, and there's just like all kinds of pressure, it can cause shearing at that joint. So I do get some like pain there. It's like some discomfort. And again, that kind of comes and goes. Sometimes it's really bad where it just like hurts to walk. Other days I don't feel it at all. It just kind of comes and goes. And then the other major discomfort, I feel like this is such a long list, but again, like I'm not experiencing all these things at once. It's usually like one thing at a time. Another discomfort I've experienced this time, which is a first in any of my pregnancies, is like hip pain. And it's like this deep hip pain, and it's only on my right side. And again, it's one of those things that some days it's there, some days it's not. Around the time where we moved, where we were like packing, and it was just like a very physically demanding time, it was really bad. Like there was days where I was kind of like limping on it. But like right now it's fine. But some days it's bad, other days it's completely fine. It just kind of depends. But that's just another thing, like another ache and pain that I've been dealing with this time around. And then something that I always experience on and off once I get to that second trimester is just like Braxton Hicks contractions and like a tight belly. I cannot quite pinpoint like what causes it and aggravates it. Like, I mean, I know Braxton Hicks, they're just practice contractions and they're just kind of like par for the course. But I feel like, when my digestion's a little bit off, like, your digestion slows down when you're pregnant anyway. But, if I eat something or just, basically if for some reason I'm like a little bit leaning towards like constipation, I feel like that's when it gets really bad. And my belly is just like tight and like aggravated, and like the muscles are just like and they're just like locked that way. Like it feels like there's nothing I can do to stop it. And this is the worst at nighttime because it's so uncomfortable to sleep with like a rock hard belly. But again, it comes and it goes. Most of the time I get pretty good sleep. But there are those nights that are just uncomfortable. And then the other two symptoms that are more mild, but just something I wanted to note. The first one is heartburn. I have to say, my pregnancies have never been easy. I always have my fair share of like the difficult stuff, but heartburn has never been something that I've dealt with like in a big way. I know some women really have horrible heartburn. And it's very uncomfortable, like to have that day in and day out and be like affecting how you can sleep. That is no picnic. So I'm very grateful that it's never been bad, but I do get a little bit, and I'll go through stretches where I get it like at night. And it's just uncomfortable. It's not fun. It's not that big of a deal, but it is uncomfortable. And then the other thing that kind of falls in that same category, and this is the first pregnancy I've experienced this, and that is restless legs. I've never experienced restless legs like in my life, but anytime I go to lay down, not anytime, again, I feel like this also comes and goes, but a lot of the time when I go to lay down, whether it's like, you know, I'm just putting my feet up on the couch, you know, at some point in the day, or I lay down to go to sleep, my legs, I just want to like fidget them. They just feel so restless, and it's such a weird, uncomfortable feeling. And I do have something that I've been using, which I'll get to in my must-haves, to kind of remedy that naturally. But man, that is just like a very uncomfortable thing, and it's the first time I've ever experienced that. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on was just appetite. Through my first trimester, even though I'm sick, and then all through the second trimester, pretty much, I usually have like a hefty appetite. I feel like I gain like the weight comes on in like the first and the second trimester. And then by the time I'm like edging towards the end of that second trimester, my appetite just like sharp, like it's a sharp dive. I'm still obviously eating. I'm still hungry. I need fuel throughout the day, of course, but I just don't have much room. I'm not very hungry, especially by the time we get to dinner. I'm usually just like not super hungry. I'll have like a little bit to eat. And then, you know, later on, if the hunger comes back, then I always honor that, and I'll have a little something before I go to bed. It just depends on the day. But this is where my appetite starts to go down. And I would say around like that week 25, 26 is where I really saw that. And then speaking of appetite, I want to share some cravings I had. So first trimester, I usually have intense cravings. It's usually like all things like hot sauce, spicy, tangy, sauerkraut, like eggs with hot sauce is like so good to me. You know, carby things, like the cravings are pretty intense. And then I feel like they pick up again in the third trimester, but second trimester, I feel like it's just pretty normal food wise. But I did write a couple things down, that I like recalled having like a random kind of intense craving for, where it was like I kind of couldn't stop thinking about it. The first one was rice pudding, which is so random. I actually really like rice pudding. I feel like rice pudding gets a bad rap, but I used to eat it all the time when I was little. I have yet to get some rice pudding for myself, but that was a random craving. And then chocolate chip cookies. I just love chocolate chip cookies, and there's been a couple times where all of a sudden I'm just like, we got to bake chocolate chip cookies, because I just like absolutely am craving them. And then towards the end of the second trimester, I had this same craving with my son and not my daughters, which is why I'm like, maybe it's a boy, but cold, crunchy vegetables. Obviously, a lot of my cravings are not healthy, but this one, I mean, I just want like sugar snap peas are like an actual addiction. Like the cold crunch is so like satisfying on like a cellular level. I like cannot even explain it. Like raw broccoli or cucumbers are just so good. And that is just like the most random thing, but I have to eat something like that every day. Like every day I have to have something like that. It's usually snap peas. Those are like my favorite. And then ice cold water. At this point, like I didn't care about water temperature. When I'm not pregnant, I actually prefer like room temperature water. But now I am like, it has to be ice cold or I do not want it. Like freezing off my taste buds, that's what I want. Okay, and now I'm just gonna share a few of my must-haves with you guys, and I will link these down below. So the first thing is my glorious compression stocking. I can't live without these when I'm pregnant. I've worn them in the past 3 pregnancies since I started developing varicose veins. And I will link the specific one down below. I've repurchased this one several times. I just really like it. I feel like it stays up very well and it's comfortable. Now I say that with like an asterisk, whatever, because they are very tight. And this is like the 15 to 20 one, which is pretty tight. I think I am so used to wearing it that I don't even feel it. And the reason I say that is because I recently took a flight and I put them on both legs just, you know, to help with circulation, because I have a history of blood clotting. That's another thing I forgot to mention. I'm on Lovenox, which is like daily injections of blood thinners, which is not fun. Second pregnancy, I'm doing that, but I'm kind of used to it now. But I wore them on both legs just to help with circulation. And I was like on my left leg, which I normally don't wear one, I could not believe how tight it was. It's like, wow, this is crazy. This is like very uncomfortable. But on my right leg, I barely even feel it. And I think it's just because I'm so used to it. So you do get used to them and then they become more comfortable. But this is the one that I really like. I will link it down below. And it is a thigh-high one. In my first pregnancy, I made the mistake of wearing like the full-on maternity tights. But the thing is, the compression only comes thigh high. So there's really, and from what I can see, there's literally no reason to wear the tights, because then you just have uncomfortable tights under everything you're wearing, like digging into your sides. And it's not actually giving you any compression past the upper thigh anyway. So I'm all about these thigh high ones, and these ones stay up really well. Okay, another must have is, I call these my cloud shoes. I feel like a lot of people have these, but you can get them on Amazon. I'll link them, but they're like my house shoes. They're like slippers, but they're obviously not like furry and warm. And they're just so comfortable. They are like so cushiony. It's literally like walking on clouds, and my body just like loves the cushion. Like it just feels so good. Like I just don't really want to be barefoot. I don't love to be barefoot anyway, but like especially when I'm pregnant with just all like the extra weight that I'm carrying, it's just really nice to have these. So these are like a must. I wear them every day, like all day in my house. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention, and this is actually a supplement that I take when I get that heartburn. If it's really bothering me, like it's just really annoying, then I will take this, and it's called Alkaline. I'll link this down below, and it's basically like a pH neutralizing supplement. It's a powder, you put it in water, it like fizzes up, tastes like lemon lime, it actually tastes fine. And you drink it and it literally just gets rid of it. It's like the best hack. I know there's a lot of other natural options. Like I always hear about papaya enzymes. I think there's some other ones too, but since I've never had really bad heartburn, I've never experimented too much. But a lot of my friends, you know, who use oils and Young Living stuff swear by this. So that's what I've just tried, and it's totally worked for me. So I love that. Okay, another thing for discomforts that are annoying, the restless legs. So I found this pair. I was actually like searching in like our oil Facebook groups to see if like anybody had any advice, and this is what came up. So magnesium, but it's the spray, so it's topical, which is actually the best way for your body to absorb magnesium. And then you pair it with cypress oil, which is really promotes like healthy circulation. So the two of these together, again, if it's like, I don't put this on like every single night, but if it's really bothering me, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go like lather this on my legs. And it really knocks down like the restlessness, and it makes me feel so much more comfortable. It really works. And again, it's obviously natural, which is really nice. And it gives me a boost of magnesium, which I'm always down to get some more magnesium. Another thing I wanted to mention, I think my kids like grabbed it out of my bedside table. I literally can't find it. Luckily, I have another one coming in my order in just a couple days, but it's what I've actually been using on my belly. I'll link it down below. It's called Tender Tush, and it's technically like a baby product. It's like a Young Living baby product, but it apparently is amazing for stretch marks. I don't know how I haven't heard about this sooner, since this is, you know, not my first rodeo, and I've been using Young Living stuff for a while, but I heard that this is really, really incredible for stretch marks, and it's basically like a balm. And it feels so good on my belly. I apply it every night, like all over the belly and my hips. Cause I always get, like, if I get stretch marks, they're like below my belly button and then they're on my hips. And I'm excited to see, cause I've heard really amazing things about people using this and like not getting stretch marks. It'll be an interesting experiment to see if it actually works, cause I've always gotten some. There's definitely like genetic factors for sure, but I'm really curious to see just because I've heard so many amazing things. So far I have 0. They usually don't pop out until the 3rd trimester though, so we'll see. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention are these underwear specifically. These, I'm telling you guys, these are like the best underwear on the planet. They're from Target and they're super affordable and they're very, very nice. Like they are not crappy underwear that are going to like be, you know, losing threads and like getting uncomfortable and like not standing up to a lot of washings. They are the best underwear. I will link them down below. I wear these pregnant or not pregnant, but they're so stretchy that I can wear them all throughout my pregnancy. Of course, they're tighter now. I mean, of course, but I can still wear them no problem. And I actually just like told my mom about them, and she was like, these are the best underwear ever. I was like, I know, I've been telling you to buy them for like 6 months. I don't know why you waited so long. So anyway, these are just the best, and they're like kind of like that seamless, so you can't like see them through like jeans or leggings or anything like that. But I just wanted to mention these because I feel like underwear in pregnancy can be tough because you're getting bigger, but these have a lot of stretch. I do size up though. I think I get a medium, which like normally I'm more of like a small in, you know, pant sizes, but I always size up in underwear because I do not want tight underwear. So I sized up to a medium and they are perfect. I love them. Okay, just a couple more things. So I don't use pregnancy pillows. I tried one in my very first pregnancy and I was just not about it. I slept with it for like one night and I thought it was like the most uncomfortable thing ever. I know so many women swear by them, but I've never liked, I mean, at least from then, I've never tried again. I just didn't want to spend the money on one. But I did want to mention the pillow that I have because I do kind of use it as a pregnancy pillow. So this is my pillow. This is like what I use all the time. It's not a pregnancy specific one. And it's like a non-toxic pillow. I think it's from Avocado Green. I'll link it for you guys. But it is just like the best pillow of all time. Whatever the filling is in here is it's like so squishy and comfortable. It's obviously non-toxic, which is important to me for bedding and a lot of other things. But it's so filled that it's like actually pretty like fluffy and big, and it's just so comfortable. So I obviously use this as my regular pillow, but while I'm pregnant, it's a king size, so it's huge. So it's basically, it kind of acts like a body pillow. So what I'll do is a lot of times I like flip it so it's like almost vertical in the bed, and I will like sleep on it like that. And then I always just I have like a dinky regular pillow that I'll use to like, you know, if I want extra support on my belly. But that is how I sleep, and I swear by that. It's also kind of nice, like instead of buying a pregnancy pillow that like once you're not pregnant anymore, you're literally never going to use again. This is just a regular pillow. You can use it as a body pillow. You can use it as a regular pillow. And I feel like it's a much better investment. And it's also made, of course, with healthier ingredients. Okay. And last but not least, I have to mention my Stanley. These really are like, I know they're so, at this point, it's like everybody loves their Stanley, but it really is just like the best water bottle ever. I have the 40-ounce one, so it's like it's a big boy and it holds a lot of water. And staying hydrated when you're pregnant is so important. So I love this thing. It holds a lot of ice, so I can keep it ice cold and a lot of water at the same time, which is key. And I just fill this up a few times a day and it keeps me super hydrated. It fits in my cup holder. I like the straw size, like everything about it. I have no complaints. I just love this water bottle. There's a reason everybody loves it. The hype is worth it. If you've never tried one, I'm telling you, they're worth it. And this is just totally a must-have for me. All right, you guys, so that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching and getting a little update on how this pregnancy is going. I'm very excited to be in the 3rd trimester now. The 3rd trimester is always my favorite, even though it's a little uncomfortable. I just like being in the home stretch. I like prepping for having a new baby in the house. I like prepping my body for birth and my mind for birth, and just everything that goes into that to me is just, it's just so good. So I'm really excited. Again, if you guys want to continue to follow along and you want even more details, then definitely subscribe to the podcast, which I will link down below. If you're pregnant, I am sending you all of my love and strength. It is no walk in the park, but it is so unbelievably worth it. And all the sickness and the pains and the aches and all of the things that happen during pregnancy, you will literally forget about them, and it will just not even be like practically a memory, which is kind of crazy, but also kind of nice. But that's all I have for this video, guys. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.